There's a moment that comes to every trader. It's quiet. It happens after the screen goes dark, after the positions are closed, after the day is done. You sit there and you feel it. That weight, not the weight of loss, necessarily, though that's part of it. It's the weight of knowing you did it again. You broke your own rules. You acted on impulse. You let fear take the wheel. Or maybe it was greed. Or maybe you don't even know what it was anymore. You just know that the person making those decisions wasn't the trader you want to be. And in that moment, you're not thinking about charts or setups or technical patterns. You're thinking about yourself. And that's exactly where we need to begin. Because trading, at its core, is not a technical problem. It's a psychological one. And until you understand that, truly understand it, you'll keep cycling through the same patterns, the same mistakes, wondering why nothing changes, even though you've studied more, practiced more, learned more systems. The issue isn't what you know. The issue is who you become when the market is open and money is on the line. Let me tell you why this happens. Why intelligent, capable people step into the market and suddenly find themselves acting in ways they don't recognize. It starts with a simple fact that nobody wants to admit. Trading exposes you. It strips away the comfortable narratives you tell yourself about who you are. In your regular life, you can maintain the illusion of control. You can believe you're disciplined, patient, rational, but the market doesn't care about yourself. It doesn't respect your credentials or your intelligence. It just shows you, in real time, exactly who you are under pressure. And what it shows most traders is this. They are driven by fear and desire in ways they never imagined. The fear of missing out. The fear of being wrong. The fear of losing money, yes, but also the deeper fear of losing status, of being seen as a failure, of proving to themselves that maybe they're not as capable as they thought. And on the other side, desire. Not just the desire for profit, but for validation, for the rush of being right, for the story they'll tell themselves and others about how they nailed that trade, how they saw what others didn't see. These forces, fear and desire, they don't live in your strategy. They live in you, and they wait. They wait until you're in a position, until real money is at stake, until the market starts moving against you or racing away from you. And then they wake up, and suddenly you're not following your plan anymore. You're reacting. You're justifying. You're moving your stop loss because this time is different. You're adding to a losing position because you can't accept that you were wrong. You're cutting a winner early because you're afraid it'll turn into a loser and you'll feel like a fool for not taking profit when you had it. Every single one of these actions feels reasonable in the moment. That's the trap. Your mind will construct a logical narrative for why you need to break your rule right now. It will tell you this situation is unique, that you're adapting, that you're being flexible. But you're not being flexible. You're being controlled. Controlled by parts of yourself you haven't learned to observe and manage. Here's what most traders don't realize. The market isn't your opponent. Your own psychology is. The market is just information. Price moving up or down, volume increasing or decreasing, patterns forming and dissolving. It's neutral. It has no intention toward you. But your mind is not neutral. Your mind is a meaning-making machine, and it will project stories onto random price movement. It will see personal attacks in red candles and validation in green ones. It will turn a simple stop-out into evidence that you're not cut out for this, or turn a winning streak into proof that you've finally figured it all out. Neither story is true. Both are dangerous. The traders who succeed, the ones who actually make it past those first brutal years and build something sustainable, they're not smarter than you. They don't have access to better information or secret strategies. What they have is a different relationship with themselves. They've learned to notice when fear or desire is driving the car. They've learned to pause, to create space between the impulse and the action. And in that space, they make different choices. They've learned to notice when fear or desire is driving the car. They've learned to pause, to create space between the impulse and the action. And in that space, they make different choices. We want a formula that removes the uncertainty, the discomfort, the psychological pressure. And so we keep searching externally for a solution to an internal problem. Let me be clear about something. There is no setup, no strategy, no amount of technical knowledge that will save you from yourself. You can have the perfect system and still fail if you can't execute it. And execution isn't about knowledge. It's about self-regulation. It's about being able to feel fear and not act on it, to feel greed and not chase, to feel frustration and not force trades, to feel doubt and not abandon your process. This is where the real work begins. Not on the charts, but inside you. And it starts with awareness. You cannot change what you do not see. Most traders are so identified with their thoughts and emotions that they don't realize they're being driven by them. The fear isn't you. The greed isn't you. These are experiences passing through you. But when you believe they are you, when you act on them without question, you become their instrument. So you learn to watch. You learn to notice the patterns. Not just the patterns in the market, but the patterns in yourself. You start to recognize that tightness in your chest when a trade moves against you. That urgent voice that says, you need to do something right now. That story your mind tells about how you're falling behind, how everyone else is making money, how you're missing the move. You start to see these things not as truth, but as psychological weather, passing conditions that don't require action. And here's what happens when you develop this capacity. You start making different decisions. Not because you've learned a new technique, but because you're operating from a different place. You're not reacting from fear. You're responding from clarity. You see a plan, you trust your process, and you follow through regardless of how you feel in the moment. This is discipline. Real discipline. Not forcing yourself to do something you hate, but having the internal stability to do what you said you would do, even when parts of you are screaming to do something else. But let's talk about the obstacles. Because even when you understand all this intellectually, there are forces working against you. The first is ego. Your ego wants to be right. It wants to prove itself. It doesn't want to take a small loss and admit it was wrong. It doesn't want to sit in cash while the market moves without you. Your ego needs action, needs validation, needs to feel important. And trading will absolutely destroy your ego if you let it. Every loss is a small death to the ego's fantasy of control. The successful trader learns to put the ego in the passenger seat. Not to eliminate it, that's impossible, but to recognize when it's talking and to not let it drive. When you exit a trade at your stop loss, your ego will scream that you gave up too soon, that you should have held on. But the part of you that's committed to longevity, to sustainability, knows that honoring your risk management is more important than being right about any single trade. This is the conflict, and you will face it every single day. The second obstacle is impatience. We live in a world that rewards speed, that celebrates the quick win, the overnight success. But trading is not built for impatience. The market will give you opportunities, but on its schedule, not yours. And if you need to make money today, if you need to prove yourself this week, you will force trades that aren't there. You will chase price. You will overtrade. You will violate your rules because sitting in patience feels like doing nothing, and doing nothing feels like failing. But patience isn't doing nothing. Patience is active waiting. It's maintaining your readiness while the market sorts itself out. It's trusting that your setup will come. And when it does, you'll be there, clear-minded and prepared. The impatient trader burns through capital trying to make something happen. The patient trader lets the market come to them. Then there's the obstacle of identity. Who you believe you are shapes what you think is possible. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles with money, trading will confirm that. If you see yourself as someone who self-sabotages at the edge of success, you'll find ways to blow up your account right when things start working. These aren't conscious choices. They're patterns running in the background, defending an old identity, even when you consciously want something new. Changing this requires you to catch yourself in the act, to notice when you're about to do the thing that maintains the old pattern, and to choose differently, not once, but repeatedly, until the new pattern becomes stronger than the old one. This takes time. It takes failures. It takes getting back up and trying again with a little more awareness each time. Now, let's talk about what this process actually feels like from the inside, because understanding it intellectually is one thing. Living it is another. You'll have days where you feel like you've figured it out. You followed your plan, you stayed disciplined, you took your losses cleanly, and let your winners run. You'll feel calm, centered, in control. And then the next day, or the next week, you'll find yourself in the same old trap, breaking rules, chasing trades, feeling that familiar anxiety and frustration, and you'll wonder if you've learned anything at all. This is normal. This is the process. You're not broken because you slip back into old patterns. You're human. The difference between a developing trader and someone who quits is what happens after the slip. Do you collapse into self-judgment and give up? Or do you notice what happened, learn from it, and return to your process? The path isn't linear. Growth in trading looks like an upward spiral. You'll revisit the same issues at deeper levels. And each time you do, you have the opportunity to integrate the lesson more fully. What you're really building is a new operating system, a way of engaging with uncertainty that doesn't require you to control outcomes. Because that's the final truth about trading that nobody wants to hear. You cannot control the market. You cannot control whether this trade wins or loses. The only thing you can control is your process, your preparation, your risk management, your emotional regulation, your decision-making in the moment. Everything else is outside your hands. This realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it strips away the illusion that if you just work hard enough, study enough, find the right system, you can guarantee success. You can't. No one can. Every trade is a probability. Even the best setup can fail. Even the worst setup can win. That's the nature of the game. But it's liberating because once you accept this, you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You stop judging yourself by individual outcomes and start judging yourself by whether you honored your process. Did you wait for your setup? Did you manage your risk? Did you follow your plan? If yes, then you did your job. The outcome is irrelevant to your evaluation of whether you traded well. This shift in perspective changes everything. It removes the emotional charge from wins and losses. A loss doesn't mean you failed. It means the market didn't move the way you anticipated this time. A win doesn't mean you're a genius. It means the market moved the way you anticipated this time. Both are just data points in a long series of probabilities playing out. When you operate from this place, trading becomes simpler. Not easier, but simpler. You know what you're looking for? You wait for it. When it appears, you act according to your plan. When it doesn't appear, you wait. The market does what it does, and you do what you do. There's no drama in it, no story, just execution. But to get here, you have to be willing to face yourself honestly. You have to be willing to see the ways you lie to yourself, the ways you justify breaking your rules, the ways you avoid responsibility by blaming the market or bad luck or unfair conditions. The market doesn't care about your excuses. Neither should you. The only question that matters is, are you becoming the kind of trader who can succeed? Not whether you're succeeding yet, but whether you're building the psychological foundation that success requires. And that foundation is built in the losses more than the wins. Any fool can feel confident when they're winning. The real work happens when you take a loss and respond with equanimity, when you honor your stop and move on without anger or regret, when you accept that this trade didn't work and start preparing for the next one with fresh eyes. This is mastery, not never losing, but losing well. So where does this leave you? Right here, right now, with the awareness that the market is not your problem. Your relationship with uncertainty, with fear, with desire, with ego, with patience. That's your problem. And problems, real problems, require real solutions, not shortcuts, not hacks, but actual development of your psychological capacity. This means building a routine that supports clear thinking, getting enough sleep, managing stress, keeping your life outside of trading stable so you're not bringing desperation to the screen. It means journaling your trades, not just to track what setups work, but to track your emotional state, to see the patterns in when you deviate from your plan. It means practicing mindfulness or meditation or whatever method helps you develop the capacity to observe your thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them. And finally, it means accepting that this is a long game. You're not going to master trading psychology in a month or a year. You're going to be working on this for as long as you trade. But that's okay, because the person you become through this process is worth more than any single trade or even any series of trades. You become someone who can face uncertainty without panic, someone who can lose without being crushed, someone who can win without losing themselves in arrogance, someone who can commit to a process and trust it even when outcomes are unclear. So, sit with this, not to feel inspired, but to feel the weight of what's actually required. Trading will not give you what you think you want. It will not make you rich quickly or prove to others that you're special. But if you approach it with honesty, with discipline, with a commitment to developing yourself psychologically, it will give you something more valuable. It will show you who you are. And it will give you the opportunity to become someone stronger. The screen will open again tomorrow. The market will move. Opportunities will come and go. And you'll be there with all your fears and desires and patterns. The question is, will you be watching? Will you catch yourself before you act? Will you choose your process over your impulse? Because in that choice, repeated thousands of times, a trader is born. Not someone who never feels fear, but someone who feels it and trades anyway. Not someone who never makes mistakes, but someone who learns from them and adjusts. Not someone who has all the answers, but someone who asks better questions. This is the path. It's not easy, it's not fast, but it's real. And it's the only path that leads where you actually want to go. Not to quick profits or glory, but to sustainability. 2. Longevity. To the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can trust yourself under pressure. That's what top traders have. Not certainty about the market, but certainty about themselves. And that certainty is built one decision at a time, one trade at a time, one moment of awareness at a time, starting now. The work begins when you close this video and sit with what you've heard. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing and pressing the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. See you there.